selfie stick. So let's see what we can... here we are. There we go. You see how that works right there? So what I can do... But those are little things we can look at. And what I'll do is I'll try to direct... And what I thought we'd do... Let me start with my monologue. It's about the ETSU game. And what I'd like to do is after we take a break... we can, then you can like ask me or we can discuss just the opening monologue. The idea of the monologue originally, Andy, was, and we're on the air by the way right now, the idea for the monologue originally was, I'm going to start this and then people would, comment or something. It might be to gather interest and all that. Well, the show now is primarily me and you, and there's a reason for that. Because, quite frankly, in 2018, Sports Talk Radio is about the hosts. In 1988, it may have been more of a public forum type of thing, but it's more about the hosts here. So let me begin here. All right. Some of you may be watching on Facebook. And if you are, you notice something a little different here. I'm joined by a co-host. Now, you see... history of Sports Talk Radio, Mike Trevisano calls up Pete Franklin. He becomes a talk show host. Joe Beningo calls up at WFAN all the time. He becomes a talk show host. I call up a local show on a competitor that's been around for a long time. I don't think they'd like it if I named him. I think you know who he is, and I do actually have some respect for the rivals, if you will. And now look at me. And here, I, Marky Billson, your voice of choice for a new generation of Tri-Cities sports fans, here on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. Tri-Cities Sports Now, the name of the program. We own the Tri-Cities, so much so that we now can afford a co-host. Here's Andy Slagle, the trooper from the calls. And it's good to have you on here, Troop. I know he's the man who upset all the Tennessee fans about 2 years ago, picked the 28-24 up. Well, that was your score. It was actually 45-34 in Nashville 2 years ago. And, well, since then, I guess, Vanderbilt is just like about everybody on the SEC had Tennessee's number and all that. So this is Andy here. And we're going to be talking here in a little bit, actually a big college baseball fan. And that's right around the corner, and so we're going to be talking a little bit about the pings, if you will, of baseball, instead of just the crack of the bat. But I do want to begin and talk about last night's ball game. And Andy, I know you had, I had called it, I don't know if you heard it, but last night the ETSU UNCG game, although neither teams were officially nationally ranked, the biggest in college basketball, because what it meant in the conference race. ETSU could either basically own the conference, or they could not own the conference. They would have competition with Greensboro. So what I'm looking at here is, Steve Forbes said this, I think you know this, no good can come from a winning streak ending. None. And, I mean, was it good last year when Connecticut's 111-game winning streak ended in the women's Final Four?
Yeah, that was huge.
That was not good.
No, that was. I think everybody was waiting for that somewhat, but
that was not good for the Huskies. It may have been for Mississippi State, but it was not for. It was for Mississippi State. What about UCLA? When they won 88 in a row, should they have lost to Villanova in the title game, or Florida State, or Memphis State, instead of winning 88 straight? Yeah, I don't think so, right?
No.
So why would anyone think it's a positive that the 16-game winning streak ended last night, an 18-point loss in Greensboro?
Yeah, they've played a couple close games this year, and I mean, I knew if they come up and face a good team like that, they would have to be on their A game. But apparently, that Greensboro, they have a lot of talent.
Well, let me just say this: it was a chance for this team to defeat the strongest team they're going to face for the rest of their conference season on the road, to set the school record for longest winning streak in their history. And it was a chance to, I mean, the difference between coming into the NCAAs theoretically with 24 straight victories, or now one loss, I mean, think about this. You come in with 24 straight victories, all of a sudden you're the mid-major, you're going to be the next George Mason, you're going to be the next Butler. That's what they're going to talk to you about, the next,
and being ranked.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they were getting the points, they were starting to get the votes, and that would be a good chance for them to get in the top 25.
Exactly. I mean, even if you win 23 in a row and let's say Wofford beats you in the SoCon final, just to throw out somebody, there's a slight chance, it's not all that promising, but it's a slight chance that you can become the first Southern Conference team to get an at-large bid. I was looking at team rankings, they were giving, it wasn't a more than 50% chance, but there was a slight, depending on how everything broke out, like about a 15% chance or so. Now, all of that, and the chance to be the first ETSU team to go undefeated in conference play and earn a national ranking, they're all out the window. And the season isn't over, mind you. Not by a long shot, but I do think the Bucks are still the safe bet to make the NCAAs out of the SoCon tourney. But here's the problem, and I think this is it. We've seen that act before. And there was so much, Forbes building a program, what's this team going to do? People buzzing around, is this 1991 all over again? And all that talk out the window with an 18-point loss to Greensboro. And, you consider what if you'd have come in, undefeated record, longest winning streak, 24 wins in a row, everybody talking about the program going into the NCAA. It didn't really matter what seed it would have been. And you get a chance now, not just at a 12, but, say a 10. Say an 8, which is what C of C was, College of Charleston, back when they were nationally ranked in 1999. And then you have a chance, just like what happened to C of C, they go to the CAA. They improve as a program. Here, well, now all that sort of stuff, the air went out of the balloon. And you looked at the ball game. The Spartans simply attacked ETSU from the very start. They win the tip. I've talked about this on the show. The Bucks like to make Francis Alonso shoot from the left side, not the right. Feel he's far more effective from the right. Alonso gets the ball. He's on the right side. And basically it's like, yeah, go ahead. Try and stop me. I dare you. Jermaine Long had held him to 10 points in the first meeting. All of a sudden he's putting up a 3 right pronto. Long's a bit of a step slow there. Fouls him. This is okay. Yeah, it was an errant shot, but I'll go to the line. I never miss from here. Hits the 3 free throws, and all of a sudden it was, this looks a little bit different. And, he scores 20 points to lead the Spartans. Now, Andy, I hope this shows the strength of the SoCon, because I believe 3 teams, including UNCG and ETSU, also Wofford, can win the whole thing. And I'd like to think that this is, okay, strong SoCon and all this. The problem is, I think you see this, the pollsters, they don't necessarily, it's the difficulty of mid-majors getting attention.
No respect.
Yeah.
It's hoping a team like, they'd be like Wichita State's coming out there in a lower conference like that and coming out and being successful and, always playing. And that's kind of what the Bucks could do.
And look what happened with Wichita State back then, is that you had a circumstance in which Wichita State was undefeated. They became something of a powerhouse. We all knew the Shockers. I mean, we knew them from college baseball, right? Yeah. All right? But, Brandon Looper, we know Wichita State here. But what happens now is that they are able to go from the mountain, what do they call it? The Missouri Valley, Missouri Valley, to the American. And instead, Andy, what happens is that they go to the American. This is a higher level conference. So their program improves because they have the undefeated record. They're not getting knocked off by Southeast Missouri State or something somewhere along and saying, well, at least we can still win and go to the tournament. They're going undefeated in the regular season and saying, look at us. And then, like the American...
And they historically play really good teams. They play Kansas.
Sure.
Kansas ended up not really wanting to schedule them.
Oh, it's where our 1 o'clock guest, Steve Forbes, is from. among other places as well and such. But and they're paying, by the way, millions to their coach now. And that's one of the things that everybody is on pins and needles about the future of Steve Forbes at ETSU. But, you have to, I remember talking to him on this show before, and it was like, well, would Greg Marshall go to NC State? And he says, no, he couldn't afford the pay cut. Think about that. Wichita State is now paying their coach more than NC State. Who wants to win more?
Yeah.
Think about that now. But I do give a lot of credit to UNCG. They circled the game on the schedule, made the most of it, built an early lead, 14 block shots. It's a school record. And the Bucks basically panicked in front of them. At 4 assists, everybody was shooting for himself. It was like a team of Tim Smiths. Spartans are a game back in the standings, and they got a legitimate chance at the top seed in the SoCon tourney if ETSU stumbles again, because as it stands right now, they would get the tiebreaker in a head-to-head matchup. Now, another loss might not be that out of the question. I mean, the next opponent is Western Carolina, which has a winning record in the Southern Conference. They're 7-2 at home. After that 3 games close out the regular season, Citadel in Johnson City is probably a victory. I mean, let's face it, But then Wofford and Furman. I mean, I think the Bucks will be favored in all 4 games, but come on.
Can't be looking ahead.
Yeah. I mean, these are, I would say that if Wofford and Furman, Freedom Hall or no, that's legitimate chances of defeat right there. You go down to Greenville and you only lose by 1 to Furman. Come on, Wofford's beat UNC. You tell me. And, in fact, are you familiar at all with the website teamrankings.com?
I've been to it in a long time.
Okay. This morning, the Bucks, who were almost a 60% chance 24 hours ago by their rankings to go to the NCAAs, now it's 47%. 53% chance on the field, because there was, and one of the things I should say is that there was the idea, Andy, that, okay, just what I alluded to, maybe you lose in the title game to a Wofford, Wofford's beat UNC, they look at, maybe Xavier's number 1, they see a 2-point loss there, and just barely you get first time ever an at-large berth. Again, they were giving them a 10-15% chance on this.
It'd help a lot if they would have won this game and got ranked.
Sure. I mean, it was a pitcher getting a hit was the odds of it. But we see pitchers get hits. I mean, it happens, okay? And
Bartolo Colon.
Yes, exactly. Who's been signed by the Rangers. Have you seen that? Yeah. That won't be determined, though, the who makes the NCAAs for a couple of weeks. But Team Rankings does give the Bucks a 12 seed in the NCAAs, and that means right now, beatable game, winnable game against a beatable opponent. 5 seed, figure it out. A 5 seed.
They historically play really well in the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, they played.
Sure.
They played
Cincinnati, Wake Forest, Pitt.
Clemson, wasn't it?
Clemson was never... No, Clemson, that was the NIT.
No.
That was the NIT. That was when Brad Knuckles scored his 1,000th point in his final game, as a matter of fact. But yes, Clemson was the NIT. And to a certain extent, the last time they had the 2-point lead against Florida before the Gators put it into 5th gear. Let's see here. And if you want to go back to the day, I mean, Iowa was a 3-point loss and Arizona was a victory. And, of course, the famous 1-point loss to Oklahoma, the 16-1 game. Now, Georgia Tech did, and Kentucky did their ways with them and all that. Fab Five did, too, But here's the deal. Like I said, the problem with this is that we've seen the act before. And it's... right now, ETSU fans, and I get this, they say, okay, let's have something special. And a lot of what could be special was taken away. And instead, what you're going to have, Andy, now is possibly the same old, which is, hi, 11th straight time in the NCAAs, and we're out of here within a couple of games, and frankly... you were hoping for a little bit more than that. You were hoping for an undefeated record. You were hoping for
an expectation and not a first round loss.
Exactly.
And not being happy with it.
You were hoping for 24-game winning streak and people all over the country talking about Johnson City, Tennessee again. And a number 21 ranking, which, yeah, I mean, if you had a 21 ranking, imagine if you do lose in a SoCon tourney, you've got a legitimate argument now, much more. That's not going to happen. So it was a big loss. We're going to talk to Steve Forbes in about 45 minutes, and we're going to continue. Myself, Marky Billson, and the Trooper, Andy Slagle, on Tri-City Sports Now. And now we go here.